welcome to Her Conversations, Tools for the Awakening Woman. Her is an acronym for Higher Energetic Resonance. This is the optimal state to embody in order to attract our highest desires. Who is the awakening woman? She is the woman who's seeking a greater possibility in her reality and looking for solutions. She knows being awakened is not a lofty ideal but a necessity. If she can transform herself, she can change the world. Her conversations will introduce you to talented women who'll speak to your spirituality, your sensuality and soul. They share their stories and explain how they are in service to the world. So let their words and these conversations embolden and inspire you. My episode this week is a solo episode, and having a platform like a podcast gives you the opportunity to not only speak to people who fascinate and inspire you, and also, as I'm doing Her Conversations, I'm speaking to a particular kind of woman, but what it's also bringing is an opportunity for me to speak about things that are on my heart. And never more so has there been a time in history when so much is happening, so much is unfolding. Forgive me for being in the house, but that then I can really think there's an opportunity. I have the platform to actually speak about things that I want to just share with you as well. My thoughts, my opinions, which is what they only are. My feelings about what is really happening, what is being seen to happen, and what is really happening, or what I feel is really happening in the world right now. And because I had so many thoughts about this, normally what I would do on usual occasions is just sit in front of the mic and just speak. But because I really wanted to be very clear about how I got my thoughts across, I actually wrote them previously, and then what I want to do is then be able to relay that back to you. So I'm going to be reading, and just because I've been able to give a lot of clear thought to what I'm doing, so that I can then be very clear about how I present this to you. And I'm talking about thoughts that I have about now. Over the years, I've had immediate insights into that I've ignored. I didn't trust myself. I didn't believe that what I was seeing or what I was feeling was real. So repeatedly, I would be shown twinges about certain things that were happening, certain people that I would meet, twinges that turned out to be right. But even then, I would choose to shrug off what my soul knew to be true and was aching to tell me. And that continued until I grew tired of the losses and the pain. And then I changed tact, and then I went with my gut, even when it seemed like it made no sense. And that's when things started to change and magic started to happen. And I saw how supported you can be when you trust your feelings and your intuition, even in the middle of confusion, even in the middle of anguish. And I've always held a level of skepticism about the way the world is presented to us. Things never fully felt true, but what could I say? Where could I find proof of this? And also I was swept up by the glamorous and by the shiny, and it inspired me to want to do better, but also I failed to notice at the time how disempowering it was too. It's like sometimes you can't help but be aware of what you don't yet have, how much further you have to go. And it can push you, but also in moments of wondering when you're going to break free and when it's going to happen for you, notice how much you don't have in that moment. And there's a point to me referring to this. The past year of my life has challenged me, and through that challenge I've learned that the only voice that I can rely on is my own. And when I felt unease or knowing about a person or a situation, the truth once again showed me that I was right. And this time I forged an unshakable relationship with myself, and I vowed never to abandon me. And as a result of that, change and opportunities started to come in my life with ease almost. And what I feel now is that the events that are taking place in the world right now are not being fairly presented to us. I feel that our emotions are being weaponized and manipulated in order to serve a greater agenda. Nothing is random. Now, recently a murder was captured on camera and then pushed through social media, which is where I found it. And so obviously that's going to provoke extreme reactions, deep sorrow, deep pain. And bear in mind that we've been sheltering in place for the past couple of months. So we've had fear for our health, livelihood and our home, coupled with boredom and confusion, and that's helps to create a constant state of anxiety in so many. So it's not going to take very much to rile people. But this situation is next level. It's emotional, it's psychological abuse, it's stirring up hate, it's triggering us into sorrow and anger. And worst of all, it's dividing us. And, you know, why would you not think this is a race issue when the evidence of it being a racial issue is so apparent and so clear? So back to my intuition. You know, and as I started, as the story started to spread, and I saw how people felt the need to respond, of course, on social media, I took a step back because not everything was adding up to me. And when the looting started to spread into different districts, I was shaking my head with all that I saw, not just because I felt for the people who I knew that would suffer because of it, but because I had questions. I wanted to know why we were being distracted, what we were being distracted from, what is really happening. Because time and time again, when something is happening on one side, something else is happening and taking place undercover. And I know nothing exists in a vacuum. There's a greater narrative here. And when I took a few steps back to see what had happened leading up to this tragedy, it was so convenient about the timing of it. Just seemed to play into certain things just happened one after the other, and this was just like the escalation of trying to swing back opinion. So I'm wondering now what is going to happen and how the solution to this event is going to be presented rather. And I have a few ideas. Again, no proof, but I'm just feeling into what I feel. And problem, is it David Icke that says, you know, problem, reaction, solution, every time, every single time. And we've got to remember that only days ago we were sheltering in place to protect ourselves, what was initially considered a deadly virus. And think about this, when people and the experts who saw what was happening came forward, they felt compelled to present facts and alternative information to us based on what they saw we were being told. The thing that happened to them is they were attacked, they were discredited, and in some instances they were silenced. So I'm then wondering, why would the gatekeepers of that information, or the information, and remember there's very few channels, even though they feel like there are hundreds, there's very few, why would they then change their tactics when it comes to this? And it starts with always asking questions and staying in the question and trusting that you have the intelligence to feel what's right. Our ability to work things out for ourselves is clearly not appreciated. And if you think our education allows for very critical thinking, In fact, the rewards are placed upon the ones who can best regurgitate the scripted curriculum and live within the lines for life. Obey the rules. Not everything that's out there is true, but don't you think that you should be the judge of that? Having one source of information leaves us as vulnerable as relying on one source of income, as many millions of people have recently experienced. So you've got to ask yourself, where do you get your information? Who owns that source of information? When you get that information, how do you react? Who would want you to react that way? How do they benefit? Why do they benefit? There is a bigger game at play here. As fantastic as it may sound, but as I continue to search and learn and connect the dots, I see how little we know of the world. We have been deeply programmed to the point that trying to discern the truth feels overwhelming, and our intuition is overridden by our knee-jerk emotional reactions. It feels impossible that we could have been deceived. But we have, and the scale of deception will be difficult for people to comprehend when the truth comes out, which it will. This has been called the Great Awakening. Many religions, many faiths have known that a time like this would come, and I believe that we're right in the middle of it. And what would appear to be a disintegration is actually revelation. This is dark coming to light, collectively and personally. We all have to do our shadow work and heal. Better things are on the other side of that. Better things are on the other side of healing. It feels horrible at the moment, I know, but we can work through this. We need to remember who we are. We are spiritual beings, and we're experiencing life as humans. We chose to be here. Our souls chose to be here at this time because we can witness the changing of the times, which will be spoken about in history. And in the maelstrom of the present moment, it's easy to forget that we're greater than our physical beings. The reality of being human feels so real. So those are what I wanted to share with you right now, and I just want to leave you with how I'm working through this. It's to feel into your heart, to nurture and nourish your state of being. We can do this. We've got this. We're awakening. Thank you so much for listening, and if you want to find out more about me, you can find me on my website. It's carolmaewhittick.com. So CarolMaewhittick. And you can find me on Facebook under Carol Mae Whittick, and I'm on Twitter and Instagram as Casmic. That's CAZMICK. Until next week, and have an amazing week, and take care. Speak to you soon. Bye.